So the new look Lakers seem great, right? And it just really added so much hype and excitement for the remainder of the season. And it really kind of just feels like we have a real opportunity here. Feels like, okay, if we go on a nice little run, we win a handful of games for every one that we lose, we're right there. I mean, even Kenny Smith is out here talking about how, like, man, if they play the way that we've seen them be able to play, they could easily get into the playoffs. We might not even be talking about the play-in. And I think realistically, we're probably looking, just because we're so far behind, realistically, I think we're looking at like the 7th to 8th seed, which is fine. If we can get there, we got to win one game. We're in the playoffs, very likely as the 7th or the 8th seed if we end up losing that first play-in game. But I imagine if we get into the play-in, we win that first game, get a little rest, and then take on whoever that 2 seed is, which is very likely going to be the Memphis Grizzlies. If we get there, I really believe that this team can match up, take on anybody. Seriously, there's not a team in the West that I fear and look at and go, man, there is no way the Lakers can beat them in a 7-game series. Now, will they? Who knows? They could be an uphill battle that we are fighting and clawing all the way, and we finally get into the playoffs, and we're just exhausted and done by that point, right? That could be a real possibility. And even the trades. The trades weren't just for this season. Worst case scenario, you have the entirety of this season, you have the off season, you have training camp, and then preseason to get it right, and then hopefully you're off to the races competing for a championship next season. But this season still feels like it's wide open for us, and if we could just get into the playoffs, then who knows? Sky's the limit, right? You get into the playoffs, you trust this new look team, you trust your 2 stars in Anthony Davis and LeBron James. We're still the only team in the league that has 2 top 10 guys. And if they're playing to that level with the rest of the role guys, it's great. I mean, we saw with this new lineup just how incredible they could really be, right? How the minutes for LeBron James and Anthony Davis could be put down to 30 minutes and we still have a blowout win. And we didn't even play like great. Right? We still shot pretty poorly, but still we were able to win the game in a very just start to finish type of fashion. And it wasn't like there were a couple moments here and there, but for the most part, when you were watching that game, it really felt like, okay, this team's okay. We're not going to lose this lead. We're going to be fine. And we're 2-1 with this new roster, and that one loss just kind of felt like it was just a game where it wasn't even the roster, wasn't anything, right? A team just shot the lights out. It happens. You move on and you keep going. But the big question is, what is the strength of schedule? How does that schedule look? And do we have a realistic chance with that schedule? We had 24 games left. Now we have 23. And we needed to win, somewhere in the ballpark of 16 to 18 of those games for us to have a realistic chance. But can we win those games? So far, we got 1. So now we're looking at, 15 to 17 wins. And so what I wanted to show you is the projected ranking of schedule. So currently, the Lakers sit at the 25th toughest schedule. Right behind them is OKC. So as you can see, you have the Lakers to the left. All the games are against like top opponents, like teams that are current playoff teams. And then the other side are the, considered the easier schedule, right? And you even see games like OKC has the Lakers twice, right? And then the Lakers have the Thunder twice because they're a team with a losing record. Now, the Lakers also are a lot better than they were previously. This is taken into account what we've seen so far this season. But the Lakers have the 25th toughest schedule based on this metric which is basically taking into account all of the teams and their strength of schedule, and then puts them up against the other teams. And again, Lakers ranked 25th in remaining schedule. This is the remaining schedule. Lakers were like 10th, I believe, this year in total schedule. But now we're on the back end of the schedule, and they rank 25th. OKC is now 26th, which is a little concerning, right? Because they're a team that is in front of us that we have to compete with. So they have a rather easier schedule, not by much though, just very slightly. And then another one that I wanted to highlight is two more teams in front of us that have an easier schedule. So based on this metric, Dallas has the easiest remaining schedule amongst teams. Again, taking into account two Laker games, which we do have a different Lakers team, although Dallas does have Kyrie now. But still, I don't think that they're that much better. I think the Lakers improved a lot more than Dallas did. That's just my opinion. Maybe I'm a little biased. It's a Lakers channel, but it's my honest thought. But Dallas, per this metric, has the easiest schedule remaining. And then New Orleans is 28th. So they have the third easiest schedule. Again, little concerning. They still play the Lakers once. Lakers need to get that win because then we would have the tiebreaker against them. So if we did finish with the same record, Lakers would have that tiebreaker. But outside of that, I mean, they really do have an easy schedule. They play the Nuggets, the Knicks twice, Memphis once, Kings twice, Dallas once, and then Clippers twice. And then outside of that, it's just like all the tanking teams. So, we got to get those wins, but little concerning. Nonetheless, the Lakers, we have Memphis twice. We got to beat them at least one of those two times. Clippers, we have to beat the Clippers. We have to beat the Clippers. Knicks, I think, is a winnable game now. Suns, I think we win at least one of those games. Dallas, I think we win at least one of those games. And the Pelicans, like I said, we have to win that game. So out of the tough games, let's say we beat Memphis once, we beat Dallas once, and we beat Phoenix once. So there's 3 wins. And if we could beat the Clippers, the Knicks, and the Pelicans, that gives us 6 wins out of those 9, right? And then that would leave the remainder of the 14 games against these lesser teams. Granted, Toronto, they're a team that could be tough. Chicago's a team that could be tough, but I think we could beat them. Orlando, they can get hot in bunches. They're a good young team. But in general, we should be able to beat these teams, and the Thunder. We have to beat the Thunder twice. So, like I said, if we could get, say, 3 of those wins, that would be pretty good. But also worth mentioning is just the strength of schedule for other teams. So Philly is actually number 1 with the toughest schedule. Clippers are number 2, which I think is pretty interesting as well. And currently, as it stands, no pun intended, but currently, as far as the Lakers are concerned, schedule wise and stuff like that, we currently sit still at 13th, right? But we are 3 games out of 7th. 3.5 out of 6 behind Dallas. The Clippers have the second toughest schedule. They are in 5th place. And we're 5 games out of 5th. Clippers are really good though, and so not really counting too much on being able to catch them, but just again something worth mentioning. Sacramento has the 4th, but again they're kind of feel a little too out of reach for us. We're like 7 games behind them or something like that, 6 games behind them. So again, I think that would be pretty tough, but once you start getting down the list, Minnesota, who I think we could catch, they have the 12th toughest schedule, so that's really good. Portland has the 14th toughest schedule. Golden State has the 16th toughest schedule. Again, these are all teams in front of us. Utah has the 21st toughest schedule. So basically, all of the teams in front of us, luckily all play each other. That's huge in and of itself. But also, they all have much tougher schedules, right? Like I said, the only ones that are really kind of there with us is New Orleans, OKC, and Dallas. Those 3 teams are the teams that we very likely could be competing with. But as far as like the teams in front of us standing-wise, Minnesota, they have a tough schedule. The Warriors have a very tough schedule. The Jazz and the Blazers. So that's good for us in that position, in that sense, right? At the end of the day, it comes down to LeBron James and Anthony Davis. They have to play. We need them, even if it's limited minutes, whatever. We can't afford them missing a bunch of games. We can't afford them, missing 5, 6, 7, 8 games, right? I loved what we saw the last game against the Pelicans where they only played 30 minutes and we were good, right? We won in just dominant fashion, start to finish. And I'm hoping that can continue. I'm hoping that can continue to be a trend. I've said for a while now that we have like the last 15 games or so are all, in my opinion, extremely winnable games, right? Like literally 13 or 12 out of the last like 15 games we play are very like you look at those games and you go, okay, we can win those games. Our next game is against the Warriors with no Steph. We need to win that game. Then we follow up with Dallas and Memphis, and we're at Dallas and at Memphis for those games. We have to win those games. I mean, every game at this point is a must win, but it feels like we have to beat Dallas, we have to beat the Grizzlies, and we have to beat the Warriors twice. We play versus the Warriors at home. Both of those times we have to beat them. And then we play the Thunder in OKC. We have to win that game. But after the Dallas game, so we play Dallas and the Grizzlies in their respective homes, right? And then we play the Thunder in their home. But then we have the Timberwolves, the Warriors, the Grizzlies, the Raptors, and the Knicks. 5 straight home games. We have to win all 5 of those games. If we lose to the Grizzlies in Memphis, okay, fine. But we have to win all 5 of those home games. That homestand, we need to beat the Thunder, definitely, because we need to get as many games on them as possible. We have to beat the Thunder. We have to beat the Warriors as many games as we can. Dallas and Memphis, we got to get one of those. But if we lose to the Grizzlies, so be it. But that 5-game homestand are all must wins. Because Minnesota, we need to get as many games on them as possible, right? The Warriors, same thing. Grizzlies, if let's say we lose to them at their home, we got to beat them at ours. The Raptors is a winnable game, and the Knicks is a winnable game. So there's 5 games in a row, not counting the Thunder. That could be 6 games. That's where we could get our win streak. Beat the Thunder, come home, take care of your home stance. And then after that, you got the Pelicans on the road and then the Rockets on the road. And then you got 2 more home games against Dallas and the Mavericks. And then you play the Suns. So this upcoming stretch of what? Like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 out of our 13 games. Out of our next 13. We should win 11 of them. Literally, we should win 11 out of our next 13 games. And if that happens, I think we're in the 60. I really do. And we can do that. Because then we go and we play the Suns. That's probably going to be tough, right? So let's say we lose to the Suns. Okay, that's understandable, right? Then we have the Thunder, the Bulls, and the Timberwolves. That rounds out March. We should beat the Bulls at least one of those times. I would like to get both of those. Again, have to beat the Thunder, but we're at home again against the Thunder. Got to win those games. Then we go to Minnesota. Might be a tough game, especially if we beat them the other times. But, we'll count that as let's say that's a loss, right? Then that means our last 5 games in April are against the Rockets, the Jazz, the Clippers, and the Suns. Well, the Jazz we play the Jazz in order. It's Rockets, Jazz, Clippers, Suns, Jazz. So the last 5 games, we need to win at least 3 out of those 5. We should beat the Jazz twice. We should beat the Rockets. Clippers, like I said, we need to beat those Clippers, right? And then the Suns, we'll see how it goes with the Suns. We'll see how good the Suns really are. I think we can beat them at least one of those 2 games. I would love to finish April 5-0. I would love to beat the Rockets, the Jazz, the Clippers, the Suns, and the Jazz. Because that might be our last push to actually secure a play-in or playoff spot. Our schedule is very winnable. I mean, you're talking Jazz, let's take out all like the good teams, right? Like the Suns, the Clippers, all that, right? You got the Jazz, there's 2, Rockets 3, Timberwolves 4, Bulls twice, there's 5, 6, Thunder 7, Magic 8. I'll even leave the Mavericks out. Rockets 9, Pelicans 10, Knicks 11, Raptors 12, Warriors 13, Timberwolves 14, Thunder 15, Warriors 16. That's 16 wins that we should have out of the next 23. And again, that's taking out, the Suns, that's taking out the Grizzlies, that's taking out the Mavericks, that's taking out all of like the playoff teams, the ones that are basically locked into the playoffs right now. I removed all of those teams. Those are everyone else is basically play-in teams or teams with a losing record. We should be able to beat those teams. Okay, so now reality, you might lose once. So like, let's say we lose to the Warriors once, okay, but we might beat the Grizzlies one of those times, right? Say you lose to like the Timberwolves one of those times, okay, fine, but we'll probably beat the Mavericks at least one of those times. So it's not out of the realm of possibility at all when you look at the schedule to go, okay, we can win 16 games. And we've already just won one. So I think us winning 16, 17 more games, I really think is doable based on our schedule. If that can happen, if we can win, let's call it 16 more games, right? That would put us at 43 wins. If we can get to 43 wins, that's enough to get into the playoffs. That might get us to the 6th seed this year. Like literally. Just because, okay, last year, for example, because that's a good reference point, right? The Clippers had 42 wins. And the Clippers at 42 wins, they ended up being a play-in team. They ended up losing in the play-in. And so they ended up being the 9th seed. The Timberwolves and the Pelicans both got into the actual playoffs. Timberwolves had 46 wins and the Pelicans had 36. The Spurs had 34. Realistically, one of the play-in teams are probably going to be 3 or 4 games under 500. But I think if they can get to like 41, 42 wins, they'll be at least the 7th or 8th seed. I think if they can get to like 44 wins, then I think that they realistically could be the 5 or 6 seed because the West is just so tight this year. So tight this year. It wasn't that tight last year, right? Last year, the Suns had 64 wins. And then the Grizzlies had 56. You had several teams with 50 plus wins. This year, it's going to be tough, right? This year, there's not a lot of most teams are pretty much in the same ballpark, right? For example, the Nuggets already have as many losses right now, as the Suns have all year last year. Suns had 18 losses last year, and the Nuggets are already at 18. So that means we're not going to have that big, Suns type run where a team gets 60 wins. It's not going to happen this year. Very likely, we'll probably the Nuggets will probably finish as the 1 seed, and they'll probably have around maybe 56 wins, 53, somewhere in that ballpark. So, literally, right now, the 6th seed, okay, here, let's even do this. The 4th seed is only 4 games over 500. 4 games over 500. 4. The 4th seed last year was 22 games over 500. Dallas was 52 and 30. And so, you're talking, and look, and I know some people might look at that and go, well, we still have more games. Yeah, we only have 20 more games. So unless the 4 seed right now doesn't lose another game the rest of the season, the 4 seed is going to have a much worse record. This year is so tight. The Lakers have a shot. The Lakers, very likely, if they can get to 43 wins, will probably be the 6th seed. So that's the goal. But these guys got to be healthy. We got to play hard. We got to stay aggressive and go get these wins. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion. So let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. Do you think we can do it? Do you think we can't? However you feel, whatever your thoughts are, let me know down in the comments below.